Everyone, and I do mean everyone, has a side hustle. But what happens when the rubber really meets the road and you decide to leave your job to start your side hustle full time? We're on location with Khyati Shah of Acorn, calling in from India, and welcome to the Language of Business.
Thank you. So good to be here.
How long after graduation did you start Acorn?
I graduated in 2018 and I started Acorn. I started working on it in 2020, and we officially launched our marketplace in 2021 February.
And how was it with Acorn as a side hustle and finally launching it full time?
Stressful. Having a day job and then having a job that practically dictates your entire life can be very time consuming, can take a toll on every part of your life and every aspect of your life till you decide to just go all in and take the leap of faith and just dedicate all your time and energies towards this one thing that you're really passionate about.
When you were working in your day job, which one was dictating your entire life, the day job or Acorn?
Acorn, I can't lie. It is when you start something that has secretly been niggling at you for years, when you finally give it your all and get into it, it's a thought that never quite entirely leaves your mind. I could be working on a presentation and then, oh, shoot, that's a good idea. I want to go back to my notebook. I want to go back to my drawing book. And I would just want to get the idea out and just leap into it. There is no middle ground there. And then after a while of juggling both, I don't know how successfully I did that, but I did do that for almost 2 years. And I quickly realized that I can't have a foot in each boat. So I do need to commit to this if I want to give it its best shot.
What is your 30-second pitch on what Acorn does?
Acorn manufactures and designs furnishings for children and looks into personalized and innovative gifting options that can exist only on a customizable base. So our USP is that we're open to customization. We service pan India, and we deliver to tier 2 and tier 3 cities that do not have access to these kind of products.
How do you quantify your customer acquisition cost, and how might that translate into the lifetime value of a customer?
Acorn, being an e-commerce industry, is primarily based on social media marketing, is directly correlated to my social media marketing investments. I can almost always see a direct boost in sales the minute I boost my Facebook and Instagram ad spend. And I do think of these people as a lifetime acquisitions because once they hit that follow button, they're committed. And then this becomes an existing market that I have at my beck and call every time I release a new product, which I think is even more powerful than what a website does today. Though we have a website, it's really just a gallery. Everything, all my business, all my direct sales are happening on social media. And this is a market base, an investment almost of about, I have a little bit more than 5,000 people whose eyes and ears I have constantly glued to my updates and my products. They are not only invested in Acorn, they're invested in me because a lot of my brand value is tied into my voice, and that is what they're there for. That is what they're following.
The theme of this episode is startups before funding. What funding requirements do you have, and how do you envision raising those funds, please?
So we have a very clear path towards funding. So right now, we're entirely self-funded. When we do feel prepared that we have entered regional markets enough, and we have expanded enough to need added funds, we would be reaching out to every source available to us. And that includes local grants, that includes working with organizations in our vicinity. There's a lot of infrastructure in place currently to promote local businesses, and we would want to make the most of that, employ all of that.
What advice would you have for other startups seeking funding and the importance of being patient?
I think the problem that most startups have is that they get money, they might hire a bunch of people, run out of all of it in about 12 to 13 months, and then they're back to square one because there was no real plan of action to begin with. Having tangible, achievable goals, a 5-year plan, a 1-year plan, a 6-month plan, I think, is what is really important to have on your plate before you even consider raising funds, and then understand, try to do with those funds. Because without those goals, there's a black hole out there that you could be spending money into, not knowing exactly how much that dollar spent is going to be bringing back to your table.
When you decided to take the leap and focus on Acorn full time, was it a strategic decision, a fundraising decision, or something else entirely?
Well, Greg, to be frank, I was losing my mind. It is not easy to be awake all hours of the day for your day job and then most hours of the night for your actual passion job. So this was something that was affecting my personal life, my professional life. I also knew that Acorn has grown to a size where if I do not commit full time, it will suffer. Because I could hire someone, but that person would not be me. They would not be as passionate as I am about it. And I still feel that there is a lot more that I can do for Acorn that I haven't done. And not doing so would be a disservice.
Khyati, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gregory.
Khyati Shah, founder of Acorn.
Are you a problem solver? Do you see the big picture and the small details? Want to turn big data into big decisions? Take AI to the boardroom. Translate rocket science into the science of business? Build your career at digital speed with a Master of Science in Business Analytics. Be ready for careers like analytics consultant, data science, analytics strategist, data translator, BI analyst, technical business analyst. 10 months and you're in business analytics.
It's one thing to push the edge of technology, but is it a random letter or actually a leading indicator? We're on location with Anaya Barmecha, who is the founder of Tokenspace with two other co-founders, and welcome to the Language of Business.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
NFTs are non-fungible tokens, but you are in X NFTs. What does that mean?
Yeah, for sure. So basically the X in front of the NFT stands for experiential NFTs. So what this means is that compared to your traditional NFT where you could just have some kind of digital file, creators have the option of actually adding in a link that would tie into an experience. So this could be anywhere from a Zoom call, a Discord group chat, a private YouTube video, and eventually we hope to shift to in-person experiences as well.
NFTs are meant to provide a monetization opportunity. Why have they been created?
Yeah, definitely. So they really took off in the art space because of this whole concept of creators being able to have recurring revenue coming in with the secondary market. So
artists, if you will.
Artists,
right,
exactly, yeah. So as soon as an NFT is sold, it also then has the opportunity to be resold by the buyer. And what happens there is the original creator actually gets a royalty percentage on that, which is very, very uncommon compared to traditional marketplaces today.
So the X NFT opportunity is what exactly? Is it just to add to the artist's income, or is it just for support?
Yeah, so it gives an added value. So it's not just the file that you are gaining in ownership, but also this added value of an experience. It also allows an NFT to appreciate because it's coming with this added experience. So it could even potentially be resold for a higher valuation too.
Are you brokers or owners of the art?
We're brokers. So we're just the facilitators. We connect creators who are global icons, we're calling them. So these consist of social media influencers and global executives, leaders, and kind of connecting them with this purpose of transferring knowledge to their users, their fan bases, and we facilitate that through XNFTs.
So this doesn't need to be tethered to a physical piece of art. It could just be the electronic likeness of it.
We're not even going into the physical world at all right now. Logistically, it's very complicated. So we are keeping it to digital, whether it's art, music file, a GIF, a video, a animation, etc. So anything that's like a digital file, essentially.
You're launching tomorrow. What does that mean for you and your team?
It means we have a lot to do, but we're really excited. Finally, we can tell people download our app and start experiencing, so it feels great.
Somebody downloads the app, what happens next?
So they download the app. It's a very Instagram-esque feel, so definitely want to bring, again, something that's familiar to people already so that it doesn't seem as overwhelming to navigate. They have their feed. They can filter out by experiences that are offered. They can follow people, like, comment, bid on NFTs, and then showcase their collections and really build a community while doing so with people who have similar interests as well.
Who are you regulated by? Is it at the US state level, the federal level? Is there an international body of NFT law?
So what's crazy is that this space is so new and so unprecedented that there is a very complicated process in even navigating what the regulations are, because that's still being made. So we're definitely taking it step by step.
The wild, wild west of electronic art? Right.
Exactly, really. It really is dependent on like per problem that we face and having to look at what we need to think about there.
If somebody successfully has their bid accepted for an NFT, what happens to the copyright?
Yeah, so it means that they have now gained ownership to that NFT. So they have full ownership of that NFT, even though the person who originally created it will get compensated for it. The new owner is now owner of the NFT.
Permanently or temporarily?
Permanently, until they resell it again if they do. So then the new owner becomes the permanent owner of that.
And with respect to Tokenspace, if that event happens, you get a commission, or is there something else that we need to know?
No, we get a commission, yeah. The 5% model on all primary and secondary sales.
If somebody sells that, but not through your platform, are you going to get anything from it?
Technically, they can't sell the NFT not through our platform, because there's only one NFT because it's built on the blockchain. They can't be replicated in any sense. So they couldn't recreate the same NFT and put it somewhere else and sell it. So it would have to be sold on Tokenspace.
The theme of this episode is startups before funding. You're launching, congratulations, but how much money are you going to need to get to the next level?
So we're looking for about 500,000 to start getting to the next level. This includes a lot of technical investment that we need to further kind of make new additions to our app, to the kind of everything tech related, especially because it's in the space, for advertising, for getting our word out. So yeah, that's what we're looking for, right?
Is that going to be straight equity? Is it going to be a convertible note, a safe note? Help us understand that, please.
Yeah, so we have just started kind of finalizing our pitch deck, going to now go into investors, VCs probably in the tech space already, and giving out a certain percentage of equity for receiving that investment.
Anaya, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anaya Barmecha, the co-founder of Tokenspace. It takes hours, weeks, and perhaps months to apply for a grant, but after it runs out, you literally have to start all over from scratch. And you might get a couple of quick snippets of revenue here and there, but not anything that's going to get your business to be fully sustainable, unless you have a very patient team of entrepreneurs at the helm. We're on location with Brock Nelson, the founder of CoStudy, and welcome to the Language of Business.
Pleasure to be here, Greg.
Brock, what is it like applying for a grant?
It's a slow, painful, and hopefully joyful process by the end.
How many grants has CoStudy successfully applied for?
Yeah, I believe we've gotten 4 grants, and we've gotten into a few incubators and accelerators, a couple at Bosch University and one at New York University as well.
And you've started generating revenue. CoStudy is a service that helps students collaborate. What types of revenue have you generated so far?
So we sell directly into the university on a per head basis, and we generated about $24,000 of revenue last year. We're at a really exciting point where we have people interested in what we're doing. People are loving the peer evaluation side of our platform. Professors find a lot of value and are saving a bunch of time because we're taking a process that used to take them about 15 hours and cutting it down to about an hour to a semester. But the next value prop that we're really trying to hack into is making teams work better together. Now, how do you get a group of 20 to 22-year-olds to actually get along together in a group project? That's the nut we're trying to crack, and we think we're really close, but we want to test it this fall before we go and scale it up in 2023.
So right now, you're in a position that you have money in the bank, but my guess is you want to go from 3 or 4 universities to 30 or 40 universities. What comes next?
Yeah, we're looking for one really cool angel investor who believes in our mission. Currently, we're doing a family and friends round to get us through the next year, 6 months, while we're trying to find that lovely individual. But that would probably be a convertible note. But again, we're open to whatever that investor thinks is most appropriate.
And how easily are you able to adjust your burn rate if finding that wonderful individual takes, say, another 2 or 3 months beyond your projections?
Yeah, so that's a deeply personal question, right? Because I'm graduating college in August, and my parents have been lovely enough to support me up through that point. I've saved up a little bit of money that'll get me through December, but after that, I'll probably need to start working at a coffee shop or something like that to pay rent.
Brock, what goes on in your head on a daily or weekly basis as you're running your business, and how does patience factor into financial planning?
As a business, we do need revenue to succeed. Right now, we don't have enough revenue for somebody like myself to go full-time and not seek another career. And so being patient and understanding that, my life might be up in the air for another year while I'm trying to grow this business and figure out how we're actually going to go help people is really difficult. Sometimes it's hard not seeking the revenue, seeking that green stuff that everyone's about and going for that impact. It requires a degree of taking a deep breath. And I've gotten into meditation a bit to help me relax and say, okay, no, it's going to work out in the long term. We need to focus on making this sustainable and focusing on having lasting impact, because the money will come.
And would you consider the freemium model, where you would essentially give the product away for free, hoping to find adoption on the back end? Or given how successful you've been so far, have you sort of graduated beyond that model?
Yeah, we love free pilots. Currently, we give our away product for free for 1 semester, and that's been working great because it gets people into the hands. We get a lot of feedback. We get to interact with more people. And so we've been doing that on an application basis. We found that professors who are interested in helping the whole student have been the most successful in using our tool. And so those are the folks that we try to give our product away to for free first.
Brock, who do you consider to be your perfect adopter? A large behemoth university like Boston University, where we have 17 or 18 colleges, or a smaller liberal arts school?
So when we're looking at the universities that we want to partner with, we aren't looking at just a client. We're looking at somebody who wants to grow our business with us and develop the product. We're an early stage organization, and we need somebody who's going to be bought into leadership and how much that can have an impact on the individual and on society. When I look at some places inside universities in which universities are doing that, typically larger universities who are more focused on teaching as opposed to research tend to be more focused to that. And then business schools also tend to be more meta in how they understand leadership and teach it. And so when we're looking at our ideal champion, somebody who has a lot of experience in the field of leadership, as well as deep connections within the university to foster that partnership, would be ideal for somebody for us to work with.
Brock, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
Brock Nelson, the co-founder of CoStudy.
In the world of higher education, there is a gap, a teamwork gap. We ask peers to evaluate members of their group so we can create a grade. But aren't we missing a huge opportunity to identify and assess conflict and build skills? Take student group collaboration. We are asking young adults with different backgrounds, talents, and convictions to champion group communications and dynamics and produce as a team. And what about you, the professor? Well-versed at teaching technical skills, but without the time or tools to properly teach professional collaboration skills. Skills that are paramount for setting students up for success today and in future employment. But what if you had a platform that closed this gap? Taking a 15-hour process and turning it into just 60 minutes. Creating positive team experiences that form desirable future employees. Employees gifted in teamwork, communication, conflict resolution, and leadership. Consider the gap closed. It's time for CoStudy. Perfect for you, perfect for your students. Schedule your demo today.
It's one thing to see your own name above your door, but what happens when your name becomes the company, or possibly the other way around? We're on location with Ameera Hammouda, who is the founder of the eponymous Amira, and welcome to the Language of Business.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I take it that the name of your company is not Smith.
No, it's Amira. It was named not narcissistically, but really out of the meaning behind the name. It actually means princess leader in chief in Arabic. So
Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt it really embodied what I wanted my brand to be, and also, you know, my parents put a lot of thought into my name. I was nameless for about 2 weeks, so
Really?
I kind of did it as an ode to them, you know, for putting so much thought into it. And then I just thought, you know, aesthetically it worked with the brand. It kind of, you know, was a little hint at my target market.
You graduated from Boston University in 2018. What caused you to start Amira?
Yes, correct. I know it sounds cliche, but Amira was always a childhood dream of mine. I was super into fashion growing up. I would, you know, tear apart my existing clothes, sew them into new clothes. I was always sketching clothing, watching Say Yes to the Dress, and pretty much any fashion-related
Your own
show.
little Project Runway show.
Yes, yeah.
The focus of this episode is startups before funding. Walk us through what it meant to not look back. How did you actually launch it?
Yeah, so, you know, it wasn't that risky at the time because I had actually just been furloughed due to the pandemic. So I was kind of like, well, I don't
From
have
your job?
Yeah, my full-time
Yep.
job. So I was kind of like, well, I don't have a job right now. I'm looking for a job. So in the meantime, let me just get this going and see what happens. And also I took the big risk of fundraising during the pandemic, which was, of course, a little bit scary because a lot of people like myself had lost their jobs, and I didn't want to come off as insensitive or unable to read the room. But luckily, we did hit our fundraising goal, which was $5,000, which definitely helped launch the first collection, helped me make all the samples in New York and get everything, you know, running. And so crowdfunding, I think, for me was a great option. I would recommend it to a lot of entrepreneurs, but of course, there's a ton of different routes to go. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got this thing off the ground.
And how has the first collection done?
It's done really well. It's almost entirely sold out within like the first 2 months. So it did really well, but now I have to keep working on more collections. I kind of thought, oh, okay, I make my first collection and then now what? But you know, with fashion, you always have to be like, people are already working on the 2023 collection. So my second collection hopefully will be out, you know, right before the summer.
What did your MVP, your minimally viable product, look like at inception?
Okay, so I'm actually wearing it right now. This was the very first sample I got, and the nice part about being a fashion designer, I guess, is that you get to keep all the samples. So in a way you're investing, but in another way you're just getting free
And
clothes.
clothing yourself in the process, right? Exactly.
Quality is super, super important, so I really don't want to put something out there unless I think it's perfect. And of course the quality, the comfort, how it washes in the machine, making sure it doesn't get damaged. But yeah, that's my MVP.
What are your objectives for the collection? Is it to break even financially, to make a difference, or something else entirely?
Oh, there's a lot of objectives. I mean, my long-term goal is to turn this into a whole empire. I think, too, the brand is actually a luxury, modest women's wear brand, so I think modesty is kind of a lifestyle, so eventually branching into a whole lifestyle brand. And also we have a blog on the site called The American, but yeah, we use that to kind of talk about topics that are regarding modest women's wear and really show women on the other side who are actually empowered by dressing that way. So that's something that's actually super important to me with the brand, to kind of shine light on those topics.
Was $5,000 enough for you to break even with the first collection?
We haven't broke even yet. I'm starting to realize that $5,000 is not enough for a fashion company. You know, even a photo shoot alone will cost about $3,000 plus.
So within our episode theme of startups before funding, to get the next collection off the ground, how much do you think you need to raise?
Well, I would say I'm being pretty scrappy with what's happening and just doing as much as I can myself. I've learned a lot about fashion development. I do all the design work, and it's really, for me, just been about being able to communicate with the manufacturers I do work with. And if I wanted to do everything 100% non-scrappy, I would probably need about $50,000.
Is that crowd-fundable, or would that be real money, if you will, from a professional financier?
I think it's definitely crowd-fundable. It depends on your market and how aggressive you are with your campaign. I've seen people do it. I've seen a friend of mine who's actually a chef in Boston just raised over $100,000 for her next restaurant, so it's absolutely something you can do. But I think another route to go about it is angel investing, which is something I'm, looking at in the moment.
Amira, thank you. Very inspiring.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Ameera Hammouda, the founder of Amira in terms of fashion design.
Support for the Language of Business is from Boston University Questrom School of Business. We're also available as a podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get podcasts. Thanks for watching.